Hi. In September, the whole nation celebrates National Preparedness Month. I have David Gervino with the DuPage County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management to tell us about what DuPage County is doing and what you can do to be prepared for just about anything. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, now when we talk about National Preparedness Month, we're talking about emergency preparedness, and there is such a wide variety of things that people can be prepared for. How do you kind of hone that in and make yourself prepared for something that will cover most of them?
Well, you know, one of the things that we do in DuPage County, and it's done here in Wheaton and actually all over the country, is focus on the concept of all hazards, take the all hazards approach. And what that means is, regardless of the type of emergency, there are certain steps you can take so that you can be prepared. As an example, whether a power outage, for example, is caused because it's cold out and there's ice on power lines weighing them down, causing them to break, or maybe it's caused because it's really hot out, like it was over the summer, and everyone's got their AC turned on high, overloading the system. The end result is a power outage, and you plan for that the same way. And so what we encourage residents to do as well is to take that all hazards approach. So, throughout the year, each month we meet and we talk about different hazards that can occur. Well, in September, we encourage people to get back to basics and prepare with that all hazard concept by following 4 simple steps. And those steps are to get a kit, make a plan, be informed, and get involved.
Okay, now let's start with the kit, if you can expand on these for us. What is a kit that would work for multiple types of emergencies?
So a kit is a container that could either be like a backpack or some type of tote container that has supplies for you and your family for up to 3 days. And it could be something so that if you have to stay in your home, maybe because there's some type of chemical spill or something and it's not safe to go outside, or if you have to leave your home, maybe because of flooding or something, and you have time to grab this kit and take it with you. It's got those basic supplies that you're able to use. So you should consider including things in your kit, such as food, water. We encourage people to have 1 gallon of water per person per day. Make sure that food, by the way, is non-perishable, and have a can opener in there. And then things in case you have a power outage, such as a flashlight with extra batteries. We also encourage people to have an all-hazards NOAA weather radio with extra batteries, because that's how you're going to be able to hear when you go into shelter. You turn on the radio and you listen to hear if the tornado warning, for example, has been extended or if it's expired, it's safe to come out, that type of thing. And we encourage people with that kit to personalize it for their particular family. You may have small children who, during a power outage, without their iPad or their Game Boy or whatever, would need to be entertained. So maybe in your kit, you're going to have some activity books and crayons or something. You may have pets. Well, if you have pets, make sure you have water and some extra food for them. You may have people living with you who have access and functional needs, maybe someone who relies on hearing aids. So you might put some additional hearing aid batteries and that type of thing in that kit. So that first step, get a kit, is really referring to a kit of supplies that will last you and your family up to 3 days in an emergency.
Okay, now would this kit differ if you're stuck inside your house or if you have to evacuate? Would you recommend a similar type of kit?
We encourage people to have, one kit, and the trick with it is you want it to be big enough to where you can keep the stuff you need in it, but small enough to where you can transport it if you need to go. Because, it may be a scenario like the blizzard back a few years ago where people are pretty much snowed in for a few days. And so they have the supplies there in their kit. They can open it up, and they can, eat the food in there and use those supplies. But it may also be something where there's a flood or something where you're leaving your house and you want to be able to carry that with you. So just to have a kit that's, again, big enough to keep the stuff in it, but small enough to where you can take it with you if you do need to leave the house.
Okay. Now things like pet food and stuff for kids. Do you know of any resources with suggestions for what you might want in your kit?
On our website, protectdupage.org, people can find out information about emergency supply kits. They can even download and print out a shopping list that they could take to the store with them, so they can have that with them as they're assembling their kit.
Okay, great. Now, that weather radio, a NOAA weather radio, what makes it different than just a standard radio?
Sure. So a NOAA weather radio, all of the newer ones have something called SAME technology, and it's technical. It stands for Specific Area Message Encoding, but basically on the label you'll just see the word SAME. And what that means is you're able to program it so that it's able to alert you for the types of emergencies you want to hear for the county in which you want to hear it. So someone here in Wheaton, for example, can program it so they're only going to hear DuPage County warnings. So they're not going to hear about small boating craft advisories on Lake Michigan and Chicago and stuff like that. And so it's different from an AM or an FM radio in that you're hearing the National Weather Service. And, you know, there's cell phone apps and all sorts of other ways by which people are notified of emergencies, but really the tried and true method and the thing that all of our employees have at their homes is this NOAA weather radio. We encourage people to have the type that you plug into a power outlet, but that also has a battery backup so that in the middle of the night, you know, if a tornado or something were to come through, it's actually going to alert and wake you up so you can go to safety.
Okay.
You may see some weather radios that are just kind of a hand crank or whatever, and that's fine to keep in your kit so that after the emergency you can activate it and listen to it, but that's not the kind that's going to be like in sleep mode and wake you up automatically. You really need the kind that, again, plugs into a wall outlet and has a battery backup.
Okay, great. So we've got our kit prepared. What's the next step?
After you get a kit, you want to make a plan, and that is involving all members of your family in planning for what to do if there's an emergency. You know, we've talked before here about how during emergencies, sometimes local phone lines are overwhelmed. So having a plan that includes an out-of-state contact, because maybe that out-of-state phone call will go through, whereas local calls won't. Having a plan that includes sending text messages, because we know from experience that during an emergency, sometimes text messages will go through when local calls won't. And then other things in your plan addressing, you know, who's going to pick up your child from school if an emergency happens during the workday. Who is someone, if your child comes home and you're still at work, who's someone who can look after them until they're able to get in touch with you. And really, in that plan, talking it over with your family. You know, one of the things we see when we talk about make a plan is a lot of parents and a lot of business owners have great plans, but they don't share it. The business owners don't share it with their employees, and parents don't share it with their children. It's not enough to have a plan. You really need to talk to your family about that plan.
And just including them, and would practicing be part of the plan too?
Absolutely. You want to practice the plan. You want to make it as realistic as possible. You know, some parents feel that if they talk to their kids about emergencies and disasters, it's going to scare the kids. But the fact of the matter is that most psychologists agree that children are already scared of emergencies. And by talking to them and letting them know that, you know what, bad things sometimes happen, but we have a plan in place, and here's what we would do if something like that happens, it really actually puts kids at ease.
Great. So we've got a kit. We've made a plan. What's
next is be informed, and the best way to do that is to have that NOAA weather radio. Also, to go on Wheaton's website to see about the emergency notification system you have here in Wheaton. On our county website as well, protectdupage.org. People can sign up for Nixle and sign up for Facebook and Twitter alerts. And it's really important that you sign up so that you do receive those emergency notifications. During the flood a few years ago, we were sending out messages to let people know where emergency shelters were located. But those messages only got as far as people who had signed up for those services.
Okay. And what's the final step?
The final step after get a kit, make a plan, be informed, is get involved. So learn how you can get involved, whether it's joining a community emergency response team, a volunteer group that helps out during emergencies, or volunteering through the local police or fire department, or your Red Cross. Just getting involved, spreading the message of emergency preparedness, and helping your community to be more disaster resilient.
Okay. Well, as this month is focused on preparedness, which is what your office does, I think people would be interested to hear how you work with residents and schools and what you do to kind of help spread the preparedness message.
Sure. One of the things we do is we go out and we speak to school groups as well as community groups, whether it be a neighborhood association or a scout group, and we talk about those four basic steps. We actually show examples of disaster supply kits. We even work with people to help put those together. And if people go to our website, protectdupage.org, they'll see a link on the right side. It says speaker request form, and they could click that and fill that out if they're interested in having us come to speak to their group. We also speak to private sector groups, so maybe someone in town has a small business and they're interested in learning, well, what can I do so that if an emergency or disaster strikes, my business isn't going to, I'm not going to go out of business. I'll have some type of plan in place. We talk to people about that, and there's no charge for it, and we're happy to do that.
Now, if a large weather event or something like that happened, what would your office be doing in that case?
We'd work very closely with our municipal police, fire, public works department, as well as the state to bring in resources. So, in some cases, maybe the emergency affects one town but not another, and so we might reach out to that other town and get resources to come help the town that's affected, and vice versa. And we will ask for help even from other parts of the state if we had to. And in many cases, we've actually sent our staff to other parts of the state to assist during disasters. So really coordinating those resources. You have a phenomenal, top-notch police and fire department here, and in general, someone calls 911, and police and fire respond to that. Our office doesn't get involved at all. It's only a large event where it's multi-jurisdictional, multiple agencies. When they get involved, that's where we come in to help coordinate those resources.
Right, like I remember your office was involved with the flooding in April 2013.
Exactly. Yeah. So in that case, we had people from the federal government with FEMA, as well as State Emergency Management Agency, IEMA, and the Small Business Association Administration. They came into DuPage County, and they only had 2 days to document all the damage. So we worked closely with you and folks from your Public Works Department to take FEMA around and show them the hardest hit areas. Then we compiled all that data, so we were able to get that disaster declaration, which helped so many of the residents here.
Okay. I think when people hear the name of your agency, they're not quite sure
right.
what you do. The Homeland Security part, is it dealing with terrorism or what it is? But I think that's interesting to hear about how you educate residents. Now, is there anything that your office will be doing for Preparedness Month that's special? One
of the things we do is we really push even more than we do the rest of the year to really encourage people to be more prepared, to do something so that they're more prepared than they were before. Whether it's revising the contents of your kit, updating it, putting it together if you don't already have one. No matter what you're doing, there's always just a little more that you can do. And so that's kind of what we do, is encourage people to do just a little more than you already are so that you can be more disaster resilient. We work with a lot of schools and faith-based entities have days of service on September 11th, because of the September 11th, 2001 attacks. So we'll work with them. We offer a shelter training workshop in partnership with our good friends at the American Red Cross, so that if something like the flood that happened in 2013 occurs again, where we're having to operate a shelter for 3 weeks straight around the clock, we have trained volunteers. So that's something else we'll do, is we'll train volunteers and just really try to get people to create a culture of preparedness.
Great. If people want to learn more about what they can do, some examples, some things they may not have thought about, where would you suggest they go for more information?
People can visit our website at protectdupage.org. That's protectdupage.org, and they'll find resources not only from our office, but also from state and federal agencies as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I think that provides some good resources for people to get started.
Thanks. Hi, I'm David Gervino with the DuPage County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. September is National Preparedness Month, and I encourage you to follow these 4 simple steps to be prepared. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed, and get involved. To learn more about each of these 4 steps, please visit us online at protectdupage.org.